Good morning, world. Deep breath here today. I was feeling a little bit more anxious than I have in previous days about going live this morning. Not quite sure what's going on with that. But here I am doing what I would say that I would do. So this is number 13 of 30 bits of bravery that I have accomplished myself. So today I would like to talk about what auto repair, shotgun training, and channeled writing have in common. If you read the description that I put up there, you'll know that I am a loner. I don't like going to events and activities where there are strangers, where there are people. But I love learning as well. And so over the years, every time I get one of the catalogs from the adult education centers, I skim through it, and there are so many courses I want to take. But the thought of walking into that first class, that's usually enough to keep me away. But every once in a while, there's something that I want to learn that it calls to me enough that I will take advantage of it. And I will find that courage to walk in and be that new student again. So a few examples I'd like to give to you today. The first one was a bike repair course that I took through LL Bean. LL Bean has these amazing training programs, and they also have women-only training courses, which I love, especially something that is mechanical, which I have no natural aptitude for. I'm one of those people that calls things thingamajigs and what's-a-mabobs. I would fit perfectly in Ariel's world in The Little Mermaid. I understand. So I was very nervous about learning how to work on my bicycle, which was important for me because I was getting ready to do the trek across Maine, which I talked about a few days ago last week sometime. I wanted to be able to do basic bike repairs so that if I were out on this 180-mile bike ride across the state of Maine, I could potentially, hopefully, fix any minor issue. More importantly, it was for my long training rides so that if I were 5 or 10 miles from home and I had a problem with my bicycle, I could fix it. So I signed up for this course because it was more of a necessity. I attended the training course, don't remember anything that I learned from it at this point. But it was helpful because I remember I did have to change my tire tube one time, replace it. So that was pretty cool. Got my money's worth from that. But it was unsettling. It was uncomfortable walking into this situation. But again, LL Bean with their discovery schools and with their programs, they do an amazing job of making people feel comfortable. Hey, Mary, good morning. The second thing that I did when my now ex-husband, but husband at the time, when he was deployed to Iraq in 2007, I think it was, I decided, again, flipping through the adult education training book or catalog, there was a course called Understanding How Your Car Works. And I thought, that sounds perfect. I would like to learn more about my car. And so I signed up for this course. And it was extremely uncomfortable walking in to this classroom. And I think there were 8 or 10 of us there. I was the only woman initially. And then another woman walked in. And I was so glad to see another woman in there. Throughout the course of this class, it was difficult being a woman. Eventually, my friend Margaret, her wife, well, she was her partner at the time, soon to be wife, but she joined the class as well. So there were 3 of us women in the class. But some of the comments the men made to me were so inappropriate. One gentleman had mentioned my fingernails, which now they're fairly long. They were at the time. And he actually made a comment, oh, well, wouldn't want you to break a fingernail. And I remember I took my finger and I just put it in my mouth and I just ripped off a fingernail and said, they're not important to me. I want to learn how to fix my car. And then there was this other man in the class. He was so kind and so helpful. And he was always, we'd put my car up on the lift. I thought this course was going to be classroom, going over the theories of how the different parts work. But no, it was actually hands-on, where we were doing our own tire rotations. We were changing our own oil. I changed a radiator in my son's car. It was really hands-on and cool stuff. I was clueless. I didn't know any of the tools. Still don't. That was years ago. That was a decade ago. You can't expect me to remember this stuff. So the car was up on the lift, and this man, Ken, and I, we were working on something, and he made a comment that because I'm reaching way up, and he said, you know, it would be easier if you brought the lift lower so that you could reach things. And I looked at him and I said, if I bring the lift lower, your head's getting chopped off. And he looked up and he looked at me and he said, good point. I can reach those things for you if you want. Usually I would bring a little stool over so that I could get up on a stool, but sometimes that was a little shaky, a little sketchy. I would always try, but sometimes because of the stretch, I couldn't get the heft that I needed behind a wrench or something, and he would help me out. Later in the course, after we had been there 4 or 5 weeks, he said, you know, you continue to surprise me. And I said, why? Because I'm changing a tire. I think I was balancing tires at that point. And he said, no, because you came back for the second class. And I looked at him and I said, really? Why does that surprise you? And he said, when you walked in, you were so quiet. You looked so scared. I was. I never expected you to come back. And then when you came back the second week, I'm going to get teary here because this was just, it was a pretty big flipping deal. He said, when you came back the second week, I thought, that woman has guts. And I've watched you and I've worked with you, and you're willing to learn. You're trying to figure things out. And then he laughed and said, I don't think you have a natural aptitude for working on cars. So that kind of broke that little spell. But he was so helpful. But I so appreciated, I felt like he recognized the courage that it took. We are stronger than we think we are. We can do more than we think we can. But we have to step into that classroom, into that learning environment, into that leadership role, so that we can develop our skills, learn something about ourselves. Oh, this is messy. Oh. And we can show people what we're capable of. We can discover what we're capable of. So let's move on. So the next thing that I did, which was scary on so many levels, I had recently re-enlisted in the Air National Guard, and I knew that at some point I was going to have to go through weapons training. And I had not fired a weapon since my basic training days back in the early 80s. Early 80s. So I was nervous about it. And I thought, you know, just to get used to the feeling of the recoil and how to hold a rifle. And I'm probably, yes, all you hunters out there, you're just mocking me right now. That's okay. So I took another course through LL Bean, which was just a $25 discovery school that was doing some clay shooting. And they taught us about shotgun safety, and they provided all of the shotguns for us. And we had to, you know, shoot skeet, clay. It was scary walking into that because I didn't know, you know, how embarrassing to go to a class where you're shooting a weapon and you're afraid you're going to miss every single one. And I don't like to be the person that can't do anything, to be totally incompetent. So putting myself in a situation where my incompetence would show, and I was certain it would because I am right-handed. However, I am left-eyed. I had an injury or a trauma to my right eye when I was younger, so I really have no vision. So I knew that I would have to shoot left-handed. This was something I had learned in the military back in the early 80s. So not only was I uncomfortable holding a shotgun, a rifle, but also knowing I would have to do it with my non-dominant hand. So uncomfortable, uncomfortable. But it was a class full of women. One of the instructors was a woman. I'm pretty sure one of the instructors was a man. And I was actually hitting these targets as they were sailing up in the air. You know, we were told how to guide. I think it was tail, feathers, bill, something I don't even remember. Again, a long time ago. But I'm so proud of myself that I went into that class because the experience, and I remember the next day, oh, my shoulder just hurt so much because of the recoil of the shotgun. But it was great. And I met some other women there that were feeling the same way, and I was not alone. So that's another point to remember. If you're feeling uncomfortable going into a new situation, you're not the only one. Other people are worried about the same things. I have learned that so much in recent years. We have more in common than we have differences. And if we look for the commonalities and we just share the experiences and the emotions of what we're feeling, wow, it kind of helps you to settle in and realize, okay, I'm not alone. There are people here who feel the same way. Things are okay. I've got this because we've got this. It's a good feeling, a good feeling. And then the final story I would like to share with you, again, a learning opportunity for me. I have been making this transition from my logical, rational self into the more intuitive and heart feeling self. It's been an amazing transformation for me. I am so loving this journey. A friend of mine from Facebook, she's a psychic medium and she does training courses, and she lives in New Hampshire. I live in Maine. Can't get much closer than that. So she was offering a workshop on channeled writing. And I found the courage to attend. I did not sign up in advance. I wasn't sure that I would do it. I allowed myself, because this was so new for me, the thought of channeled writing sounded so woo-woo to me. Sounded scary, sounded intimidating. I thought that if other people are, if I tell other people about this, how will they judge me? So going back to those inner nagging voices in my head, and I thought, I gave myself permission. I could drive there, and if I decided not to go in, that was okay. There was no pressure. Giving yourself that grace is a gift. Sometimes we set our expectations too high. We can't live up to them, and it puts so much pressure on us. I did go in to that class, and I walked into that building. It was a yoga studio, so we had to take our shoes off down at the bottom level, the bottom of the stairs. You go up, and I walked into this room, and there were 5 or 6 other women in there. And I'll tell you, there really are no words to describe it, but I'm going to do my best. It was like going home. I walked into this room of strangers. One woman that I knew from Facebook, had never met her in person. And I just felt like I was home. I felt like I could be myself. And that was a little disconcerting. Here's why. I'm in a room with a psychic. These other women are women that can channel, or I'm assuming that they already know how to channel from the spirits. They are super sensitive to what's going on, kind of like, ooh, can she read my mind? And so I felt that tension, that knot, and the knot was more down in my gut. And I sat down and I took a couple of deep breaths. Thank goodness for deep breaths. Use them. Oh my goodness, the calming power of a deep breath. I've heard that the difference between fear and excitement is breath, is breathing. When you forget to breathe, that's when the fear and the anxiety and everything just tightens up. As soon as you breathe, things open, you can relax. So I'm in this course and I'm feeling a little anxious, and Barbara starts talking about what is going to be happening. And I kind of question, and I told her, and I told the group, I said, I'm feeling uncomfortable in this situation because I think you can all read into me more than I may want to put out there. So I'm feeling very vulnerable. And so many of them just put me at ease. And I learned that you really just have to be comfortable being yourself, expressing what you're feeling. We can't help each other and support each other if we don't share where we're feeling vulnerable. Wow. This bravery story has gotten much deeper than I really expected it to go. I would have fixed my hair better if I knew that we were going to be doing something like this. So there are just so many ways that you can embrace your own inner warrior, your brave soul, to accomplish some of the things you want to do. So I appreciate you showing up there. Hey, Nicole. And I love that there are so many opportunities out there for us. All we have to do is be willing to show up. Trust that things will be okay. Because we can do this. We are one. We really are one. And when I try to hold myself back to being just me in my safe, protected world, I'm not nearly as big as I am when I'm willing to put myself out there to the world. You have a lot to share with the world too. And I hope today you'll take that step, just a little bit of bravery, and put yourself out there. Great things await. And if you doubt that, just think of some of my stories, and I bet you have some of your own. So thank you for joining me, Mary and Nicole. I really appreciate you being here. Have an amazing day, everyone. And today, just smile. It's a great world out there. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.